So welcome to AAM's workshop entitled Satirical Activism, Why Talking About Dog Meat Works. Our speakers will talk about using satire in your activism, which means providing content that is ironic, surprising, and even shocking. Using satire draws the public attention to the message in an indirect yet powerful way. They will cover the nature of satirical activism, why it's powerful and effective, examples of attention-grabbing, satirical, and other creative forms of activism, and why talking about dog meat really works. At any point, you're welcome to put questions in the chat for our Q&A. So I'm Michelle Gramberg. I'm moderating tonight. I'm a mentor and team member with Animal Activism Mentorship. I'm located in New Jersey, and I've been vegan and an activist for approximately 5 years. AAM's mission is to build a global community of powerful and effective activists in order to meet our ultimate goal of animal liberation. We do this by matching experienced activists as mentors with aspiring activists as mentees. Mentors meet one-on-one with mentees to share their experience and knowledge with newer activists so they don't feel alone, and to inspire them to become more vocal and active. Additionally, we offer free workshops that train and educate our mentors, mentees, and the public on various aspects of veganism and animal rights activism. We are also proud to announce our strategic alliance with one of the oldest animal rights organizations in the world, Farm Animal Rights Movement, or FARM. So if you're interested in becoming a mentor or mentee or just want to get involved, please reach out to any AAM mentor or visit our website and follow both AAM and FARM on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and Clubhouse. So let's go on to begin our workshop. Our speakers tonight are Molly Ellwood and Pete Reimann. Molly will speak first. Molly is founder and caretaker of Ellwood's organic dog meat farm, providing delicious dogs since 1981, family owned and dedicated to offering friends and neighbors the most humane, sustainably raised dog meat available satire. So Molly, take it from here, please.
All right, thanks very much. I'm going to share my screen. It's going to take just a second. Let's see. I am the host. Let me share my screen. Do not mess this up. It's the Ellwood debut as a human. All right, 1 second. Just talk amongst yourselves. I'm trying to make there is my make the host. All right. All right, can everyone see the presentation? All right. I'm going to go up first to my beautiful dog. This isn't my dog. I don't even have a dog. So I'm Molly Ellwood. I am, I guess, CEO of Ellwood Dog Meat. About me, just really quick, I've been vegan for 5 years and doing activism since then. I'm a writer and a copywriter. My background is in advertising, actually. And so I have a modest amount of web experience, which helped me make this. I do a lot of online activism. I've done some in-person sign holding activism. I really like crafty activism. I've always been really enjoying making things. I like making stickers. I lived across from Trader Joe's, so I made a big vegan box with a whole bunch of vegan info and things like that. And I really like writing. As a writer, I really like writing about veganism. I've written for sanctuaries, and I volunteered for Veg Fund, trying to write for them as well. I also did stand-up comedy, and people are always like, you need to do comedy about veganism. And I was like, there's nothing funny about it. I can't find anything funny about this topic. And I struggled with it for a really long time. I was like, I actually stopped doing comedy because I was like, I feel like I should be doing stuff with veganism. Comedy takes a lot of time. So long story short, the idea was, like I said, I like to make things. My husband and I share a car, and we wanted to, well, we've never shared a car before. Now that we're sharing a car, I wanted a vegan bumper sticker. And he said that, well, my husband said, it has to be a bumper sticker that really is going to have the best issues on it. And so the bumper sticker kept getting bigger and bigger. And so this is where I landed. I was like, I could totally create this. Like, what if we just tooled around with this bumper sticker that was Ellwood's organic dog meat, humanely slaughtered, free range, local loved. And then we were going to put a sticker next to it that says like, you mad? Why? We just thought that was going to be super fun. Yeah. So the reason we thought that this might work though, is that we believe most people, are actually vegan inside. I mean, I think that if you really talk to anybody and they're being honest with you, they'll say that they will go out of their way to help animals they see suffering. They already ascribe to the ethics that we ascribe to veganism. They want to avoid causing suffering. They want to avoid thinking about the moral conflicts involved with eating animals. And many would come to a vegan conclusion if inspired to spend time with these ideas. So to tie that into the bumper sticker, we were like, what if we made a website that really supported all of these things? So the goal of the website, we wanted to make sure that we wanted to propose an alternate world where human's best friend is treated like a product. We want to draw attention to similarities and the ethical hypocrisies, and we want to evoke emotions, which means we want to maximize the time people trying to figure out if it's real. We think the longer you're going to be on this site, the more thinking you're going to have to do, and that's exactly what we wanted to do. So I built this website, and I'm not going to scroll through it or anything. I would love for you to go visit it. It's ellwooddogmeat.com. It has a main page that looks like an actual farm. All the language is the same. In fact, I combined a whole bunch of content as a copywriter, took a bunch of content from farms and just swapped out the word dog. And it's really gross. It's really easy. It's really gross how if you put in the word dog into anything, it just becomes just sick. So as you scroll through it though, the reader begins to understand that this is kind of a trick. I might say, you're confused, are you disturbed? Well, this is our livelihood and dogs don't feel pain and things like that. The general arguments people might say, maybe they'll say, of course animals feel pain, but not the same, right? So we have this page, and at the bottom I do say it's not real, but now that you've considered this, how does this make you feel? And I made a resources page with all sorts of, I was trying to find like unbiased content, news sources, things that people would really, non-vegans would recognize as fact, even though we all know the facts are the same. And then I have an FAQ that's based on Earthling Ed's free ebook, 30 non-vegan excuses and how to respond to them. And I think that everyone should read that. I think it is just so handy and helpful. And I just started a blog this week. It's enjoyable if you want. So after I had that, I was like, well, I should totally make that swag that I wanted to make because at this point, I'm still thinking I have a bumper sticker and a website that's only for me. I feel like no one's going to look at this. So I made these little business cards. I made these stickers. I made a shirt. In fact, you can make all this stuff without ever, I'll tell you the tools that I use later, but I made all this stuff. It didn't cost me any, well, the cards cost me some money, but everything else is just, you can design it and sell it online without ever having to have any merchandise yourself. And of course, I also made my giant bumper sticker. Oh, mine's in the mail. It's coming soon. I'm so excited. So we made this, and then here's the tools. If you're watching this, maybe you want to screen grab it. I'm not going to read off all of these things, but built the website using Wix. Pixlr is a free Photoshop tool. Canva's free. Images are free on Unsplash. Wix, the website itself has a lot of stuff. The t-shirts, everything was designed on Bonfire. I priced everything just at cost because I want people to see this stuff and it's amusing to me. I think that's kind of the key thing that I wanted to share, is that I made this for myself. I thought this was just fun, and I was just giggling. Me and my husband were just laughing as we were building this, which was the best part of this. So yeah, you can make all sorts of stuff and just sell it online, and it's weird. So then what's so silly about after that, I was like, you know what? I probably should make some social media for this. I was just going to drive around with my bumper sticker and my website. So I was like, I'll do Twitter. And then like 2 weeks later, I was like, oh, I should probably get on Facebook. That's probably important. And Instagram. Instagram got taken down twice before. This is my third iteration that has stayed up. And I think that if you're going to do something like this, make sure to put satire in your bio. I really hated to do that because I was just like, that just, ruins it. Remember, I want people to spend time on this. But the funny thing is, people don't look at it. They don't read it. I put it in there. I removed the punctuation. So it says, it's kind of listed in there. Funny how many people do not read it. I think the anger really clouds them. Even when they're looking for the answer, they want it to be satire. They can't see it. They're blinded by their anger. And then when it comes to the words, just like my website, all my social media stuff is inspired from farmers and ranchers and butchers and homesteaders and foodies. If you really want to go down a rabbit hole, those hashtags that I use are a nightmare. I hate scroll all the time. It is just, these people. That sounded really condescending. I don't mean that. But when someone is holding up a pig and saying something like, just hanging out with someone's future breakfast, some of it is so comedic that I can't post it myself because no one would believe someone would say that about an animal. It is shocking. It is, oh my God. So I have to try and make sure that my stuff doesn't look too comical, because when you add dog to it. So I tweak for length and readability and try and keep it anonymous. I think the thing I'm worried about is getting in trouble. I don't want anyone to think that, I know it's satire, but we were looking it up online and found that it's like, as long as it's not targeted harassment, you have to be very careful. You don't want people to be able to identify them or feel like you're bullying them. But I do use their hashtags, and the scenarios are very, oftentimes identical. The scenarios are the same, but it's hard to it might be harder to find them. So these are the types of posts I make. Thanks to everyone who has ordered grass-fed dogs so far. We're feeling a wave of gratitude for your support. Every order gives encouragement to keep us working on a regenerative ecosystem. This is regenerative ecosystem. So I made this and I just posted this, and I was just tooling around on social media for probably 2 weeks before this happened. This just went wild. This was the post that took off. I posted it on a Saturday. This is where it is today. It's still circulating. But the second one, this is the one that really just went wild. It's so funny because I get all these notifications and it's mostly people still commenting on this one. I really think it's the Rottweiler and the knife and the hamburger. Like, it is, I really try hard not to just mimic that every time, but if you can get into a specific dog, you find the people who are most vocal about their dogs. Rottweiler people love their Rottweilers. So I'm always, for lack of a better term, fishing for what is the best dog, who reacts the most. I think it's the bigger dogs. People don't have a lot of sympathy for the smaller dogs, or it's too comical. I don't know. So larger dogs, people are very sad when things happen to them. I feel very sick even saying this stuff. Don't judge me. I don't farm them, actually. But I think what's really happening here is the vegans are making it happen. I mean, just when I was just Ellwood dog meat commenting, trying to get meat eaters to engage, nobody really looked. But it was when people like Honey LeBronx started sharing my stuff. She's a vegan drag queen. You should check her out. as the comments that, so not only the shares, but just the vegans in the comments, just talking and making it look real. It is absolute chaos. It is so entertaining. Somebody compared it to like watching a clown car fire. Like the vegans are fighting with the vegans, the meat eaters are fighting with the meat eaters. Nobody knows, everybody's playing different roles. It is just awesome. No, people are confused. They're like, what, who, I have many people, somebody asked me, they're like, you're wasting so much time paying people to make these comments. I'm like, yes, Elwood Dog Meat is paying 10,000 vegans to comment. That's not true. So, but what's great then, so is I also get comments like this. And this one, I have to say, it reads almost like it's a plant. Like, I'm super surprised that somebody wrote this. It feels like someone's just trying to pretend like my stuff's working. I must say, after seeing this page, I'm enraged, but I get the message. After reading more info, I've decided to put meat down, maybe just for now, but I'm disgusted. I would never want anyone to harm and butcher a dog. So why harm and butcher cows, chickens, pigs, etc.? I understand. I hope everyone gets the message. This is wild. I didn't expect this. Like, I'm not asking for people to say these things, but I don't even have to spend much time looking for comments like this. They go on and on every day. If I just look around, spend time, I find this stuff and I screen grab it and I share it with my husband and I giggle, and it is hilarious and awesome and wonderful. And I wish I could make this my full-time job, to just talk to these people, because it is wild. I just think it's wild. But I have to say, these are obviously not the only comments I'm getting. I am getting death threats from people who think it's real. I'm very relieved though, if they find out who I am, which now I'm on a show with my face, they'll find I don't even have a dog, let alone a dog farm. So that's protecting me, but maybe now I do need a dog to protect me. I don't know. And I get a lot of messages from vegans who are supportive. I get a lot of messages from vegetarians who are not supportive and telling me why I'm wrong, which is very interesting. I'm like, you're so close. And then I do get some vegan activists, especially people who are involved in the Yulin Dog Festival, trying to stop that, who are very upset. And I understand that this activism isn't for everyone. It is not the be all end all. It is not the answer, but it works for some people. And as soon as I go from a hate message to somebody who's saying, what do I do next? Help me, I want to change. I'm like, well, it works. It works for some people. So here's some a little more thinking about it, about why it might work. I think first off, because it's shareable for vegans, that I feel is like what has powered this. It's dogs, it's light and funny. It's true. It holds up a mirror without needing to exaggerate anything. All I do is add the word dog. Like, and also it's dogs. People love dogs. And I think it's a whopper of a journey for non-vegans. You know, science shows that anger drives clicks and shares and reactions. And while that seems really exploitive to take advantage of people's anger, I mean, I'm okay with it. Readers have to spend time, and what the best part is, the people who can't figure out if it's real, they then share it. Everybody's like, I had to talk with my boyfriend or my family, or I had to share it on my page, and that's how I found it out. So there's even more people, and the more people who have to have this stuck in their brain trying to figure out if it's real, I think the better. Also, dog lovers really love dogs. If you could find the animal that people love and put them on a farm. Anyway, final thoughts, stuff I've learned, make it real. It's really fun to be funny, but I think it's more important to make people go, huh, and think for themselves. So it's really hard for me to restrain myself. I really want to post funny stuff, but I'm just like, would a farmer say this? I mean, they would, but no one would believe it. So try to keep it real. I have a lot of one-on-one interactions with people, a lot of direct messages. I get a lot of emails and things like that. I try really hard to be kind and avoid gotcha moments. So gotcha moments, you feel it in your heart. You feel it just as you're about to reply to someone. You're just like, is that what you really think? Gotcha moments feel good, but I find they're extremely hard to come back from and have an open dialogue. So despite their actions, these people are animal lovers, and dog meat is showing them something that's extremely upsetting. And so I try and be gentle and create room for meaningful conversations. If somebody says something that's really incorrect, try and ask them questions about it, as opposed to rolling your eyes or something. And then when you're done, this is what I have to learn, is now that I have this big audience and I'm just a writer, I don't know what to do with them. I'm still learning. Send them somewhere that is established for ongoing support. So I send them to vegan Facebook groups. If you're in a vegan Facebook group, there's going to be some dog meat people coming in. I think Veganuary, things like that, places that have ongoing support. Yeah, so that is it. Let's see if I can close my window somehow, if anyone wants to tell me how to do that. Oh, there it is. I see it. Stop share. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you, Molly, so much. Don't worry, everybody. Molly is sticking around. She's not going anywhere. We are going to have questions and answers, and there are already questions coming into the chat. So hold your questions if you want to ask them, or put them in the chat for later. But Molly, thank you so much for sharing the story of Ellwood Dog Meat Farm. And I have to say, I'm one of those people who has been commenting, and I love commenting. I've almost never had so much fun, and reading the comments actually makes me giggle. And we really can't say that about activism most of the time. So it's both effective and there's some amount of tongue in cheek that makes us laugh. Cool. All right. So next up is Red Pill Pete Reimann, one of our mentors at AAM. And Pete, if you're ready, go ahead and take it away.
Hey guys. Yeah, my name's Pete Reimann. I am honored to be here and share the stage with Molly. You've reached so many people with such a simple action. Just bravo to you. And I think you should continue doing your writing for comedy, because there is a place for comedy in even in such a serious, you could talk about things like the cognitive dissonance and the average moral justifications that people use. This is funny stuff. So keep writing. I have done a few street actions where I set up, a fake dog meat vendor station and pretended to give out dog meatballs. And then also a friend of mine, Andrew, fellow animal rights activist, he had the idea to start a page on Facebook and start an event in St. Augustine, Florida. So it was sort of a local thing. And we pretended that we were celebrating the summer solstice with lychee and dog meat. And this caught on in St. Augustine, Florida. And people were reaching out to local news stations and saying, oh my God, this horrible person is coming to our town. You've got to stop them. You got to stop them in their tracks while they're eating cows, chickens, and pigs, of course. But there is a video clip that we put together. Trey has it. He's going to play it for you guys. It's a little bit of the news interview and some of the street outreach that we did. And you can kind of see some of the reactions. Go ahead, Trey.
Pete, this monster is coming to our town. What are we going to do?
We've got free samples here. 100% free range dog meat. Ethically raised. What is it?
Interesting.
Yeah, it's a delicacy.
What kind of dog?
We're not sure what breed or what individual. They kind of all get sent into the same machine like cows, chickens, and pigs.
What are you even talking about?
Free range. It is, yeah.
Why?
Why not?
It says the Lychee and Dog Meat Festival. Did you hear about this, Troy?
Mm-hmm. I did not. Okay, well, this is apparently coming to St. Augustine June 21st. That's what the event says. Let me read this event to you. Celebrate the summer solstice with lychee and dog meat. And you don't need to go to China for these delicacies. Just come to the historic city of St. Augustine.
Let's get him on camera saying that. Was that the best meatball you ever had in your life?
That was the best meatball I've ever had in my life.
Damn. Well, so you got to go vegan now. We got you. Yeah, Americans in particular, you know, they go out and they protest, like during the Yulin Dog Eating Festival in China. They go out and they hold up signs and they yell at people and they protest. Meanwhile, they're eating cows, chickens, and pigs. What's the real moral difference, you know?
I saw this. I reached out to Pete Reimann, who is one of the event organizers for this, and he's sitting right next to us.
I know.
Right? Yeah,
I know.
you didn't know that.
No, I didn't know that.
Okay.
I had no idea. I had no idea what he did, but I'm scared right now.
What made you think going this route was the best way to go about drawing attention to your cause?
Well, when we bring up...
This seems pretty extreme.
Exactly. Yeah, it is. And it's extreme like the 8 billion animals that we kill every single day. But when we bring up cows, chickens, and pigs, it's easy to laugh us off stage because we've all been indoctrinated to pet some and stab others. And the ones that we pet are dogs, and the ones that we stab are cows, chickens, and pigs. So if we bring up companion animals, people are more receptive. They're more attached to those animals.
Okay.
And they won't simply scroll through. You know, they're going to pay attention. And then we have a chance to bring the message to them.
Okay. Interesting.
I don't see how you could be upset about us eating dog if you eat cows, chickens, and pigs.
I explained to you how.
But they can feel suffering and pain the same, can't they?
So what are you going to have a dog farm where you're raising dogs to slaughter them for food?
I'd probably, because I'm against all animal abuse, I'd probably go vegan
You lost me
and
now.
eat plants.
You're against animal abuse, but you're promoting eating
You missed what I said at the end.
You makes no sense.
You missed what I said at the end completely.
I'm not getting mad, but I'm trying to explain that it makes no sense.
You missed what I said at the end there, though.
Oh, come on. Try one.
All right, go vegan, guys. You said something interesting. You said, I'm an animal lover, but I also eat meat. You know, is it possible to be an animal lover if you pay for them to suffer, be tortured, and eventually have their
now
throats
you're getting
slit, you know
into
what I
my
mean?
opinion.
Yeah.
And that's where we're going to have the conflict.
Sure,
You're getting into my opinion to that point. I respect yours.
Absolutely.
And you got to respect that choice.
Yeah.
And that's the part.
Absolutely. And vegans, they get this rap like they're trying to push their opinion on others. But we're not trying to push our opinions, our beliefs onto anyone else. We're trying to get other people to stop pushing their opinions and beliefs on innocent animals and eventually pushing a knife into their throat.
Well, Pete Reimann, you're definitely making an effective, argument here, and definitely drawing some attention to the cause.
Yeah, so you can see that one gentleman there, he was a bit inebriated, so it was, he wasn't hearing what I was saying. But we had some really good responses from people. There was one lady who came up with an ice cream cone, and we just, she was piqued by the sign that said dog meat. She came up, and before the conversation was over, she ended up throwing that ice cream cone in the trash and vowing to go vegan. These satirical approaches can be very fundamental in getting people to think about things in a new way. There's something that I brought up on that news interview. Of course, we all know, most of us should know about cognitive dissonance. I mean, we all suffered from it before going vegan. And there was a different, there was a banana giveaway that we did with through PETA a few months prior to that news interview. And there were all sorts of negative comments on that 904 News station on their Facebook page. Like, slap her with a steak, a bunch of petards in town, don't you have a job, don't you have anything better to do with your lives, this sort of thing. And then only within the same week, only a few days later, there was another post on the same Facebook page, on the 904 News Facebook page, about a whale calf that had washed up on shore. Apparently a boat had hit the whale calf. And all of the comments were, how sad, what a sad loss of life. Humans can be so cruel, this sort of thing. So in one breath, they're saying, it's funny that you're trying to stick up for cows, chickens, pigs, and the fish that we eat. But in the next breath, they're saying how sad it is that a whale was killed. It doesn't matter the victim. There is no necessity for our survival to eat animals, right? There's no necessity for our survival to breed them into existence and separate families. And it's just, we've been raised since birth by our parents, by our educational system, by our advertisements. We've been told that it's laughable to stick up for a cow, but it's heroic to stick up for a dog. That's why this works so damn well. And that's why Molly is seeing such great results. And because of, what she did with the website, it's just unfathomable, amazing what she did. And you can take it as far as you want with this sort of satirical approach. I mean, you could make a website about how, I like to eat animals because of the cholesterol that I get from it. I mean, you can approach the satire in so many different directions and hook people in and then spew the truth. Yeah, that's all I got right now.
One thing you said, Pete, that I just wanted to chime in. I thought that I want to figure out like how to say this, like what is the line? But it's like people are saying how often that we're trying to force our opinions on them. But really, I feel that we are trying to open themselves up to their own opinions that they actually have. These people, everyone has these. I mean, most people have these feelings, and they have to. Society has told them they have to ignore them, and we are opening them up to these emotions. I get a lot of very upset. I mean, people who tell me that they were shaking and crying, trying to figure out if this was real. And I feel like that I have all these auto responses, and I respond to them. I'm just like, you are a very compassionate advocate for animals. Thank you. Thank you for sharing. And I think that, if you feel this way about dogs, you probably feel this way about other animals if given the opportunity to.
Precisely. Yeah. I received a few death threats as well. And make sure I'm not muted. I received a few death threats as well. And they asked me about that on the same interview. And I said, yeah, I did. I was told to find a bridge and jump off of it. People told me to shoot myself, this sort of thing. And I responded with, that kind of excites me. It excites me that people would come to the defense of animals, no matter what species they are. They were coming to the defense of dogs in this instance. But if they fully align their actions with their morals as someone who cares about animals, well, then we have more activists, right? We have more vegans at the very least. It's just a matter of education. It's a lack of education. And, like I said, it's been since birth. They've been educated to think this way by multiple different sources. So we have to stay very busy to, defeat that.
Yeah, thank you both for, in your own ways, really doing the same kind of work, the same kind of activism, holding up mirrors for people to see themselves, the hypocrisy and the inconsistencies. That's the cognitive dissonance. And Pete, I think I want to put you up for an Academy Award, possibly, because now you can say that acting is also one of your skills. Good job with that, maybe, and I love Molly's point that when people are acting in defense of dogs, it's because they're coming from their heart. And so to point that back out, to circle it and to ground it back into the very fundamentals of what's going on inside of them when their anger is flaring up. So I know we must have some questions. Now is time, I guess. Unless you have some other additional comments, Molly and Pete, we can open up to questions. There was a question in the chat from Shreya that you might have answered already, but she was curious if you had gotten any serious requests for dog meat, Molly.
Yes,
How you respond to that?
I believe I get a lot actually. But here's the thing is I also get a lot of trolling. So it's really hard, you know, and I made my form. You have to fill out a lot of things. And so by the time they get to answer number 3, you can tell that they're being jerks. It's pretty fun. A lot of people have heard about Elwood dog meat from my mother, apparently. So, but no, I think, and I actually, it was funny because the website's first popularity was in the Philippines. I come up a lot for people because it's global now. So it's got a lot of, I mean, the internet is global. So I get a lot of inquiries from overseas. But I also get, I have an autoresponder set up, so I don't have to respond to people anymore.
Hey, Pete, for you, do you think this is something that you'll repeat in the future? No pun intended, repeat, Pete, but will you be doing it again, setting up a vendor booth for selling dog meat, or do you think you're going to improve upon it next time, change it? Will you change it slightly, your approach? Will you do it the same way, not in St. Augustine again or somewhere else?
That's okay. My dad's name is Pete as well. So my whole life he was Pete and I was Repeat. So don't worry about it. It's all good. It always reminds me of that Nickelodeon show, Pete and Pete.
It's always funny. It's always funny.
Yeah. So we have probably, I don't know, 30 or 40 flyers left that we made up for the Kind dog, which was the fake company that we made up to hand out these meatballs. So we have them to give out. So certainly, we have to set something up to finish handing every one of those out. And now I'm in Gainesville, Florida. This was St. Augustine, Florida. Now I'm living in Gainesville, Florida, and I'm very close to the University of Florida. So I kind of want to try it with some of the college students. So I may go to campus sometime soon and set up a similar table and see what the college students think, for sure.
Great idea. Hit some different demographics and see how they respond to it. I guess you have to keep outrunning people, because people will eventually start hearing about it. Maybe if it really catches on, they'll understand behind the curtain what's really going on. But I guess I was going to ask you that, Molly, as well. You know, what's the future of Ellwood Dog Meat, the website and the Facebook page? Do you see this just continuing onwardly? Will it branch off into something, or will you have to stop it eventually?
Well, it takes a lot of effort, and I need to figure out how to do that better. I already have a friend that has been helping me with customer service, thank God. But I am hoping.
You need a staff now?
I need a staff. I need a dogwood. I need a farm and some farm hands. But I was thinking of doing cats next. I keep telling everybody in comments I'm doing cats in 2022, so I need to get building on that. Yeah.
That's a good idea.
Somebody asked about in the chat, they said, could it get violent? And I kind of think personally that I'm buffered by being, doing it online. I mean, obviously someone could show up at my house, but again, they find out I don't have a farm or dogs. As long as they're not extremely inebriated, I think I could talk them down. But I saw you, Pete, that makes me nervous. I was like, how was it scary to be out, saying these things?
It wasn't, I wouldn't say it was scary, but it was certainly out of character for me. I didn't feel great about myself acting as this person, right? But I'm always sort of acutely aware and slightly on edge anytime I do an action, because any sort of action can get violent. It could be a cube or a vigil, as we all know. A driver, it can get violent. It doesn't matter what you're doing. If people are triggered by the truth and they're not going to be honest with themselves, they might outwardly react with violence. So that's always a possibility. Certainly, it helps to be with a group. That day I was with 3 other people. So there was a group of 4 of us, 4 other people that day. So there was 5 of us, and we did that knowingly, knowing what could possibly happen. So I would definitely say go out in a group if you do something like this, any action. But I wanted to say something back to you, Molly, is when you and I discussed this leading up to the workshop, you were talking about so humble in your approach, and you were talking about how you're not, and you just kind of reiterated a little bit now on how you're behind the computer screen, and you're not, it's not really an action. You weren't really being an activist. And we started talking about how you absolutely are an activist, and other people out there who may not want to go out and do outreach on the street, they can use this sort of platform to the best of their ability for the animals. You don't have to go out to the street. Like I said to you that day, I think we talked about the mechanic issue, and how if you are a mechanic and you never want to do anything else but work on vehicles, well, you can go to a sanctuary and give 1 or 2 or 3 hours of work for free to that sanctuary, and that makes you an activist. You're working for the animals. So I wanted to see if you could touch on that, just to inspire others to do the sort of things that you've been doing.
Yeah. After you said that, I really thought back, because you're right. I do a lot of, I realized I was calling it art activism. Is that, yeah, somebody just said right now in the chat, chalk activism. When I found out, like when I went vegan at the same time as I lived across the street from Trader Joe's, and that was my favorite thing. Is I made a list of all my favorite Trader Joe's things, and I made a little clip that hung by my fence, so when people had to cross the street to go to Trader Joe's, they might pick it up. I put all the facts like leading up to the sidewalk to Trader Joe's, and doing, I guess, that's what was so fun about this, was finding that, like, that thing that made me happy, that made me feel like I was doing something for the animals, that really spoke to my skill. Usually I'm located in Portland, Oregon, and they have an amazing activism community there. And I haven't been in the city now for about almost a year, and I've felt disconnected. I haven't been able to go to actions. I haven't been able to go to, finding the people for those safe public demonstrations. And so this is really nice. And it made me think that, and that's why I gave it in the presentation, kind of saying, here are the tools. Like, there are so many things that you can just do on your own to make, to do outreach. And you can make flyers, you can make posters. People are doing, if you go look at your local community bulletin board and see what's up there and make something that's similar. I mean, it's pretty fun.
And something else that we discussed, not only is there a possibility for violence against us if we're doing an action like this, but you were discussing, well, both of us were discussing whether or not, because there are those people out there who look at this approach and they think we might be doing more bad than good, because if they don't understand the message that we're trying to portray, then they might leave with thinking, oh, it's okay to not only abuse cows, chickens, and pigs and fish, but also dogs. So how do you respond to that? And I'll add to it as well.
I'm afraid that people won't like my answer, but my answer is that if we want to be true, one, I don't think people are. I think that we are, we are in a dog-centric country here. People love dogs. They show dogs on their birthday on the morning news. Like, I don't feel like I'm putting dogs in danger. If somebody was going to kill a dog, they were going to kill a dog. They would look for the excuse to do so. But if somebody's eating a dog, it's replacing a different animal they were going to be eating already. And I hate to be really cruel and crass and gross about it, but that's how I try and comfort myself, that being like, if we want to be true to say that all animals are equal, that dog, I'm like, suddenly saw the recording button. I'm about to say something that's awful, but I'm just like, that dog had a better life than a pig on a factory farm. That sounds awful and I hate it, but I'm just saying, I do not think that we are doing more harm than good. I think that we are doing more good. And yeah.
And I would add to that, I'll be real quick. You could be leafletting, just handing out pamphlets. You could be doing a cube. If any of you out there have, I'm sure you've experienced this, where someone walks by and they're, oh, I'm going to eat 3 cheeseburgers tonight just because you're here. You know, so I don't think any of us have the exactly correct answers or the best approach to any of this. I think it's just, we have to be active. We have to be active in some way. And if we keep the victims in mind and look from their perspective, I think we'll come up across the right answers.
Yeah, definitely. Is there time to answer Trey's question about the craziest response?
Yeah, I was gonna point to Trey's question next, but I just wanted to say, and any other questions, please. I love how you guys are highlighting, speciesism in what you're saying, because you're right. It is illegal to kill a dog. It's illegal. It's illegal to even kick a dog. You can get arrested. You can get fined. I think it's a state by state thing in terms of what the penalties are, but it's overall illegal in this country. And yet it's completely legal and government sanctioned to kill, to murder, and to allow the suffering of what, are farmed animals in that way. And I just wanted to summarize a little what Pete was saying in terms of those great tips. Go out in groups, he said. And all of us, it's good as activists to learn to manage our own emotions, of course, and to be able to de-escalate conflict, right? To redirect and de-escalate conflict. And Molly was saying, just go to your own creativity. If you want to know what your self-expression, activism self-expression is, your unique way, look to your own creative passions and incorporate those. And it's okay to use humor. Okay, yeah, so please answer Trey's question. What's the craziest response you've got from this? Or I might add the most intense or the most memorable for both of you, Molly and Pete.
I don't think this is crazy, but to me it's the most memorable. And it went back to back. It was funny because I had an email from a woman who does Yulin Dog Festival protests, and she was very upset with me. And I was thinking to myself, what am I doing? Am I like, and then funny enough, that same morning, I got an email from a woman who runs the only farm animal sanctuary in Vietnam. And she messaged me and she says, like, God bless you for what you're doing. I have so many people who are fighting the dog festival and would eat any of the animals in my farm, and no one is speaking up for them on the behalf of these animals. And I just want to say, I see what you're doing, and I don't feel offended by it. And that's the scariest thing is, so I thought that was extremely memorable.
Any for you, Pete? Yeah.
Well, it's certainly crazy to get death threats. We had several of those. That's a crazy thing. It's also when we were doing the the dog meatball giveaways. It's crazy that there were some people that were just trolling that would come up and they knew it was a gag, but there were people that were 100% serious and okay with, there was one guy that said, I would eat human meat if you had it here. I'll try anything, and it's just, some people only think about themselves, they're just not able to use this. Not at that point in their lives. I think mostly everybody has the capacity to be able to learn how to use empathy and put themselves in the victim's position. But I guess that's the craziest thing is realizing that some people only think about themselves.
I have similar messages when you think about, I get a lot of really graphic things. Sometimes people send me a lot of dead animals, a lot of, animals that, that they have just killed, rabbits and coyotes and deer and things like that. And the weirdest one was a man sent it was a dead rabbit, and it was a video of him peeing on it. And the only response I could think of was like, are you okay? The fact that this is your response, this is how you respond to something that is trying to make you think. And despite how graphic and cruel that was, he reached out to me. He was so affected by this that he needed to respond. And I find, well, banning that person so they don't do this to other people, at the same time, that's in his mind. This is stuck. The people who walked up to you and ate that meatball pretending like they thought it was real, that's stuck in them. They'll carry that until it comes up again, and they'll have to flex that muscle again. And does it still work, or am I going to turn to a different one? Am I going to decide to be empathetic?
Yeah, it's really pointing out the extremes. When you're giving these examples, even though they're more rare and they're more extreme, it reminds us to be mindful that there are people out there who are very wounded people emotionally, and they have trauma in their past, and there's all kinds of connections between current adult behavior and those things in their past. And there's also a connection with psychopaths between kids hurting animals when they're kids, and then growing up to be the people who hurt other people as well as animals in that way. But I wanted to, Shreya had a question. Shreya's question was about
you can skip the one about the question that stooped them the most, and go to the next one.
That's such a good one too, though. But I'll give you my answer.
Sure.
But they're both good. Have you Shreya says, have you ever been stumped by a question, and do you have any data to show that this approach is effective regarding creating vegans? Does it help drive sustainable change? I don't know if is there any, I guess it would just be not empirical, but phenomenological, observable. What have you seen? What do you believe? What do you think? Good question, Shreya. Molly and Pete.
I only have, because this has only been like 2 months, I only have anecdotal evidence. I can say that the messages, I have lots of messages of people saying they're going to change. I've sent, I have the amount of clicks and things like that, but I think that we have to, it'll take more time for me. How about you, Pete? I need to plug in my computer 1 second.
I don't know. I'm just glad Shreya said to ignore the first question, because that's the first question that I've ever been stumped on.
Wow, I stumped Pete.
Stumping question stumped you?
Yeah, the stumping question stumped me. So I'm just going to move on from there. And really, like, obviously there's no empirical, well, I mean, maybe there is, but not to my knowledge, any empirical data or anything. It would be anecdotal, like Molly said. But I use that, like, the comparison model a lot when doing outreach. If I'm not comparing to a dog, I'm comparing to a human. Like I play the the trait game a lot with people. If they start going down the road of resistance and they start spewing out intelligence or species or yada yada, well, then you can play the trait game, and you can ask people, so what is the trait difference between non-human animals and human animals that makes it okay to treat non-human animals in that way? And that's a direct comparison to humans. You're taking the victim and replacing them with the human. I don't know, and that's just, dogs are great because they're our companion animals, and obviously humans, by example, that's a great thing because we all have a mother, a father, a son, a daughter, a sister, or a brother, and we don't often look at farm animals like cows, chickens, and pigs as even deserving of being victims. we see dogs, like if they're being hurt or another human is being hurt, we can easily see when they're being hurt, we can see them as victims. It's easy for us to compute. But when we see these other animals that we've been taught to not care about, we don't even see them as victims, right? So.
And probably also because most people don't see inside slaughterhouses. So, but it definitely is that meme, how much does a cow have to resemble a dog to be treated with equal value and worth? So I'm wondering if there's any, just maybe, I know we're gonna wrap up pretty soon now, but anybody else in our audience want to share an experience? You know, have you done something similar to what Pete and Molly have done, and what has been your experience? If there's anything interesting that you'd like to share, raise your
There's
hand.
Andrew. Andrew
Unmute.
just said he would, and he's the one that came up with the idea for the St. Augustine Lychee and Dog Meat Festival.
Andrew, who's with us. Andrew, do you want to share anything about that?
Yeah, I'd be happy to. Can
Thanks.
everyone hear me? Okay, great. Yeah, so hi everyone, I'm Andrew, and the thing I want to share is, I guess my bread and vegan butter activism is just a sign that says eating dogs is moral, but I recently changed it to eating dogs is okay, changed my mind. So I just stand in a crowded place and hold the sign. So one side says dogs, the other side says cats. And people come up to me, and the idea of this activism is for them to see this injustice and for them to tell me why it's wrong to eat cats and dogs. And I find this very effective, in my opinion, because we're directly talking about animal rights. So once they tell me why, all the reasons why they wouldn't eat a cat or dog, then, you can leverage those arguments to all animals. So, the most ideal case is for them to, recognize what I'm really trying to say and point out why we love some and then eat others. And then, give them some vegan resources. So I find it very effective. And one thing I recently started doing is putting a QR code on my signs so that when they see this crazy guy on the street and they take a picture of me, a website comes up and it goes to all these different vegan resources. So those are my 2 cents. And I did see a question about how do you de-escalate like people that are really angry. So I do get a lot of people that are angry at me, and I guess the best tip I have is body language and smiling. I'm usually smiling, waving, and trying to be understanding, like, oh, why you so upset? Or I can see why you're so upset. I'm just here to have a conversation. So body language and coming from a place of understanding is a good way to de-escalate. I've been doing this for 3 years, and I guess there's only been violence or like attempt of violence like twice. So it's very rare for like someone to be violent towards you, but it can happen. Okay, so that's those are my 2 cents. I don't know if anyone has questions or.
Those are great tips, Andrew. Andrew, what's the most common argument you get when you ask people to defend, not to argue why they don't eat dogs and cats? What's the one you hear the most often?
I love them, or they're my pet. So, being a pet isn't going to make someone vegan off the bat. You have to like probe and really get them to talk about animal rights. So people believe what they say, not what they hear. So, then I follow up with like, oh, okay, what is it about a pet that you wouldn't eat, to try to get at like, oh, they're like a person. They deserve personhood, something along those lines. Yeah. And Michelle, you're in New Jersey, right? So I'm in Rittenhouse Square in Philly right now. I do this in Rittenhouse Square a lot. So
all right.
So maybe we can link up and you can try it with me.
Okay, I'd love to. Please let me know when you're gonna go.
Okay.
All right. Awesome. And then I saw in the chat, Ismail had a dog barbecue. Do you want to share about your experience with your dog barbecue?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Great. So yeah, I hosted a PETA dog barbecue Actually, the dog's still in a box in my room. That kind of sounds weird to say, but yeah. We pitched it out to media. There was a reporter there while we had the dog barbecue, and I gave like an audio interview, and it was pretty weird to see how many people like looked over. And, like, we had people coming over and asking what was going on, but then like online it was like totally different. Like, people turn into like such big trolls online, like just saying anything. Like, I saw that in the news article, like there's a comment section, and I could probably like put it in the chat, but yeah, people get really defensive, especially over dogs, but it is really effective. I think that's a way to tell it that it's really effective. So 2021 or plus on, it's the year of the dog. I think we should be utilizing this kind of form of activism a lot.
I love that. Excellent. I'm glad that went well for you. Yeah, it is amazing what anonymity does. What anonymity, being just an invisible person behind the, behind the screen, allows for people to just say anything versus in person. So I think we're gonna, if we don't have any more questions, we're gonna start to wrap up. So I'm gonna just maybe give it again one more time to Pete and to Molly. Any final closing thoughts that you want to leave people with, or any calls to action? Molly and then Pete. Molly, can you hear me?
We might have lost Molly.
Oh no. Okay, Pete, did you hear me? Final thoughts.
Yeah. Final thoughts are, use any approach that you're comfortable with. If it's a direct approach or a satirical approach, use it and bring it back to the victims. If you bring it back to the victims, there's something that activists talk about, referring to the point system, right? And I like to think of it as a 100-point system. And maybe you don't turn somebody vegan that day when you're doing a satirical dog meat ball giveaway, right? Maybe they don't go vegan on the spot, but it gets them thinking. And like Molly was saying earlier, it's going to stick with them. They're going to think about it. They may even go home and they might talk to a friend or a family member about it. So now more people are affected by it. And, maybe that accounted for 10 points out of the 100, or maybe they were at 90 and they reached 100 because of your action that night. So just be active. It's not enough to just be vegan. We have to get active for the animals if we want to see a world with animal liberation. So just get active, guys.
Love it. Molly, are you with us now to give any final thoughts? Okay, I guess we might have lost her, but Pete or Trey, if you can put, you put your social in the chat. Molly, are you with us?
There she is.
Are you with us?
I thought I saw her unmute herself.
Yeah, I was giving it a second.
She's busy answering orders for Ellwood.com.
She's been reading all the comments, the thousands of comments that came in just since we started this workshop the last hour and a half. They've been, I'm sure, rolling in, probably even more so. Molly, are you with us? All right, I'm gonna do our wrap up, and if you're able to get on before we're done, hopefully that would be great. Just let me know. So this has been fascinating. This has been really interesting. And thank you so much, Pete, and thank you so much, Molly, for everything that you've shared. And thank you to everybody for being here. And thank you to Trey for working the strings behind the curtain, all the techie stuff. And I just wanted to announce our upcoming workshops. AAM is striving to have weekly workshops. The next one is Thursday, October 14th, which is videography and photography as activism. We're going to have some photographers and videographers tell us how they use that for activism and how powerful that can be. Thursday, October 21st is our workshop on disruptions. So people are going to be speaking about their experience and how best to plan and execute disruptions and what to look for, what to watch for, and why those are effective. Tuesday, November 2nd is communicating with non-vegan family and friends with the one and only Claire Mann, vegan psychologist and author of Dystopia. And we've got plenty more workshops in the works, as we say. So if you're interested in becoming a mentor or a mentee or just want to get involved, please reach out to any AAM mentor or visit our website, animalactivismmentorship.com, and follow both AAM and FARM on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and Clubhouse. And again, this workshop will be archived probably in the next 24 to 48 hours. If you want to check out our YouTube channel and see and share, please, the recording of tonight's workshop. And while you're there, subscribe and click on the bell to get notified when new workshops are posted. Molly, are you with us?
She said the dogs got into her Wi-Fi wires.
Ha ha ha. Okay, that's her wonderful, humorous final words. The dogs got into her wife. Yeah, the dogs are loose. She went to chase the dogs. They got out from the fencing and now she's got to go chase them, or the foxes will get them or something. I don't know. All right, then.
They're truly free range.
What's that?
They're free range.
They're free range. Of course. They're happy. Happy dogs. Any final words, Molly, before we sign off? All right, then. Thank you, everybody. Have a great night.